Hello everybody, and welcome. If you hear any noise outside, my bad. Very sensitive mic and some housework is being done. So, anyway, the last video was the deathmatch tier list. Thank you for those who have commented, and of course, if you comment later on, or whoever comments after this point of this video, thank you very much. I appreciate your thoughts. I'm going to take some inspiration from Vengeful Badum. Having gameplay might improve your guys' retention. I don't blame you, because maybe you get bored staring at a blank screen. So I'll try to mix that in when I can. So now let me explain the tier list. Excuse me, let me explain reinforcements first. Excuse me. So reinforcements is a rather interesting game mode. So essentially the main point of the game mode is resource management. You cannot make units with the exception of Spartans for the UNSC and Covenant leaders and engineers for the Covenant team, of course. So more or less, there is a time interval which is not universal to everyone. What I mean by that, sometimes you might get a minute and your teammate or the enemy might get, I don't know, 50 seconds or something like that. It's not the same across the board. So depending on how many resources and your tech level, it will randomly give you units depending on what you have available. So if you're on tech 1 or 0 and you have 500 resources, for example, it might give you infantry to scout units. And if you're on tech 2 and 1000, you might get a vehicle. So the name of the game mode is, you need to have around tech 2. So for the UNSC, it's tech 2 and at least 3,000 resources or higher. And how you get those resources is by banking. Banking is when you queue and upgrade a turret to essentially save your money, because once the wave is over, or once the number counts down to 0, it's going to take all the resources you have and give you 250 back. So more or less, if you queue 2 turrets before the wave ends, it will give you 250 plus the 500 that you have. So you'll have 750 really, and that's how you essentially bank. So that depends, and it depends on what you get, and it can lead to some truly wacky things. However, just like how the Covenant has a rather moderate advantage in deathmatch, I think the UNSC gets a rather moderate advantage in reinforcements, because I'll explain later on the tier list. I don't want to spoil anything. So the name of the game is resource management, and the UNSC is a little bit better than that, because the Covenant, you're going to need tech 3 to build a certain unit that I think you guys can probably figure out. So I'll go through the list in no particular order so as to not be predictable, but I'm going to start with the leaders first. And yeah, so as you notice, I've removed certain units like the all UNSC Gremlin and things like that, because honestly those parameters don't really matter in reinforcements because it's too random. So starting with the UNSC, I'm not going to go in no particular order, so I'll say this. I think Forge deserves to be an S tier for reinforcements, because you don't have to waste resources upgrading your supplies, and that's honestly very useful for the waves. Forge's economic advantage really helps out here. That's just my opinion. I think like choosing Forge on reinforcements is very easy for me, because I can just queue supply pads willy-nilly, and you know that 125 or whatever it is to upgrade. Or was it 250 to upgrade? I forgot the resource count. I'm forgetting already. I mean, it's probably 225. But that 225 to upgrade, or whatever the hell it is to upgrade, adds up over time, and Forge eliminates the cost of that by having heavy supply pads, and that's very useful for banking. Another thing I forgot to say is that the reason why the UNSC benefits more from banking is because the reactors are very useful queuing. You can queue a reactor, and you can queue the reactor upgrade. And if you're around 2,000 and you want to save some money, saving 1,000, you can simply queue the advanced reactor upgrade or queue 4 turrets. Whereas the Covenant, they only have one tech to base on, which is their temple. And so basically they can only queue up effectively turrets and building upgrades, whereas the UNSC can afford to do more. So you can have 3 reactors and you can bank if you want to really save some money. And another thing I forgot to mention is, and I'll list it on the text description, but it doesn't matter what you have on the field. If all your bases are destroyed, you're out the game. So there's no like trying to escape reach, as I jokingly say, or all that. If you lose all your bases, it doesn't matter. You have a 10 million star tank, you lose. So keep that in mind about reinforcement. So yeah, again, I believe Forge is S tier, simply because of the heavy supply pads right away. And goodness, I forgot to put my track on loop. Come on, there we go. Sorry about that, people. So that is why I would put Forge in S tier. The not upgrading supply pads really adds up, and in a game all about resource management, what better way than to pick Forge and reinforcements? I think Forge is an excellent pick. So now, again, instead of going by UNSC, I'll just go next to the Prophet. I think that the Prophet, from my opinion, going from a B in standard to a S tier in deathmatch to I think an A tier, because of the simple fact that you can get air units, and it's not like the game is going to just go, oh well, the enemy is making air, so I'll give you Wolverines. No, that's not guaranteed. I think the Prophet is pretty solid, considering that like nobody can just make anti-air at will. I'll put the Prophet up there. And of course, having his shield is very useful early game. And it's not like, you'll get brute rushed or RB rushed with suicide grunts because you can't make them. So I think the Prophet goes up there. And for that, I would have to say that the Arbiter is behind the Prophet. An okay pick, but I'm not too sure. You guys can definitely give me your opinions here, but the UNSC overall has a massive advantage over the Covenant because of what they can do, and making Spartans. Let me hold off on that because I'm going all over the place. Let me get the leaders done. My bad, guys. My bad. So I think the Chieftain would probably be maybe low S to high A in reinforcements, but I think I'll just put him in front of the Prophet. The Covenant are fine, it's just resource management, and they're very limited on what they can build to overcome what the UNSC is going to get. So now let me get to Anders. I think Anders is very high A, the up of A to low S, because of her upgrades. So half price, half research time is going to make it more viable to try to upgrade something, whereas everyone else has to upgrade at full price. Whereas Anders can upgrade her shit and blow it up right away and be pretty much fine. However, of course, Anders can't make gremlins at will. So, but still, I think that the half price, half research time upgrade can put her close to Forge for reinforcements. And Captain Cutter, I would have to say, is the very pinnacle of A tier for having, I guess, a stronger base at the beginning. You don't have to waste resources upgrading to a fortress, and because of an upgrade that I'll have to speak on later. So now let's get on with the vehicles in no particular order. Sorry, just real life, because like, why, dude? Seriously, go somewhere with your dirt bike. Nobody cares. Cyclops. Surprisingly, if you can somehow, oh right, I forgot to again. I keep forgetting these things. I'll definitely put it in the description, not description, the text. But veterancy really matters, and the more money you have, and the higher your tech level is, the name of the game is to get 3-star units. Sorry, just this dude's getting on my nerves, man. So I forgot to point that out. The name of the game in reinforcements is getting veterancy. Veterancy matters a lot in this game mode. So, generally speaking, this is under the assumption that you have the resource count right, but the game just gives you whatever, assuming that it's a 3-star. generally speaking. If you're able to get 1 to 3 star Cyclopses, they can actually do something in reinforcements. I'm going to put them in C tier. They go from being very laughable in every other game mode, but being like surprisingly a threat if you accidentally get them from not banking properly within, like, let's say the first 2 to 3 minutes of the game. They can do some hefty damage to bases, especially at 3 star. They're a big fucking problem. So I'll put Cyclops in C tier. I think that they can do something. So yeah, put some respect on Cyclops in reinforcements. A Wraith. I don't know. It's tough to say. Maybe I'll put them in C tier with the Cyclops. They can get the job done, but as a Covenant, okay, I'll just say this now, everyone. A lot of units, with the exception of what I'll point out, is not what you're looking for as a Covenant or UNSC. So Cyclops, you're not looking forward to it, but it can do something. A Wraith, you're not looking forward to it as a Covenant, but you can do something with it. So you know what? But I think the Wraith has more use than the Cyclops, I think. But maybe I'll put the Wraith in B for now. I think that the Wraith can do something, but as a Covenant player in reinforcements, especially a high-level reinforcement game, you're not necessarily looking for it. Not really, but if you get it, you can do something with it, especially at 2 or 3 star. It's pretty annoying to deal with. So I got nothing to say for that. I'm just gonna say it right now. Sentinel, just why? Forget E, just why? So no, there's no reason to make that. I have nothing to say about this. Honor guards, I'm gonna have to put them in D tier. Like, okay, so theoretically you want to try and rush somehow, and the game happens to give you honor guards and not a grunt squad or whatever else. They can do something at 2 and 3 stars, but somebody might get a unit that will counter it. So a lot of units might be in a lower tier, but you know, like generally speaking, normally a lot of players are waiting to get something like a vehicle. So I'll put the honor guard in D tier. Marines, I'll put them in Marines. Okay, generally speaking, as you'll probably see in the footage, you tend to use Marines to get an expansion, and if you can, like, insta rush. So if you're on Frozen Valley, you take a reactor, or you grab a wall or something, or you rush. The Marines have their uses somewhat, but like they fall off hard at later points in the game, and you'll be getting mad when you're on Tech 1, 2,000 resources, and the game's like, you know what, Marines. So I don't know about all that. Another unit I forgot to point out that you technically can build and it can work if you get it is, so you can build Spartans, you can build Marine, you can build engineers and Covenant hero units, but you can also technically build ODSTs. And in some games, I've seen one player just try to, you know, they bank to get ODSTs really early, and it can theoretically work out if everybody's trying to get units and shit. You can do something with it, and you know, especially if you start getting 3-star ODSTs, it's very annoying. But even with that, the amount of resources you spent trying to get ODSTs, you can get other units or try to bank for other units. I'll put ODSTs in B tier in front of the Brave. They have their uses. If you're able to get them and get them 3-starred from your tech level or something, great. But teching into them too hard, not advised. But I mean, at least you can make them, which has its advantages and disadvantages. Scorpion tanks, I'm putting them in S tier because as a UNSC player, this is what you want to try to get. This is what you want to get in reinforcements, because the name of the game in reinforcements is trying to get 3-star tanks. That's what you want, because 3-star flat tanks can do a lot within 6 minutes, and it's very hard to kill them. If you got 3,000 resources at Tech 2, the most it'll give you from that is 3 flat 3-star tanks if you're lucky. This is what you want. I don't know if, you know, again, like that's what I think. And that's what most games are based around. Spartans, I'm gonna have to throw them in the A tier because you can make them, and if you're able to get veterancy by going around and killing the bases, great. But just know that you're at risk of, you know, players wanting to attack and rush, because most people anyone who's good at reinforcements might not wait for you to do that. Grunts, elite grunts, I'll put them in C, and brute grunts, I'll put them in the same tier. I'll put them on the same level. Not too much to explain. They have the same uses as the Marines early game. Yeah, just want to get those guys out of the way. Gosshog, what is once an S tier unit in standard to like C in deathmatch, maybe even lower, as what Legendary Flying Titan put in the comment section. I think I'll put Warthogs in the B tier. Sorry, again, I have very annoying neighbors who be playing music mad freaking loud to their car and got nothing to do, so sorry if you hear it. But I think Warthogs are in B tier because if you're able to get 3-star Gosshogs running around, that's pretty annoying to deal with. And considering that if you can wipe out a base fast enough, what can the opponent do? So maybe I'll put them in A, but you don't really want them. And if you do get them, they're not starred on average. But if you get them, I think they have their use and they can do something. They're not outclassed. But the thing is that you have to get the Warthogs and then you have to upgrade them to Goss. And that's why I put them in B. So yeah, you know what? That's why I'll say Gosshogs or Warthogs in general are B tier units in reinforcements. Now choppers, I don't really see the use for them. When you get them, you almost want them to throw them away because you don't even want to spend resources upgrading them. So no, D tier, no use. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Hornets, I'll have to say it. I think Hornets are S tier. If you cannot get tanks, 3-star Hornets are the next best thing that you can get. And because no one is, it's not like you can train Wolverines and Vampires out the gate. So if you get like 5 or 8 3-star Hornets, as you probably see in the footage right about now, I don't know when it's gonna show it, but that's pretty damn good. And if you get 3-star Hornets, as long as you do what you're supposed to do and you attack, it's very tough to lose and beat if you don't have 3-star Hornets of your own, because the game is not just going to give you Vampires. There's no direct way. The only way, as someone I know always freaking says, is you bank having around 2 to 3 tech with 3,000 resources. That's under the assumption the enemy doesn't attack you, which could change everything. So again, tanks and Hornets S tier units in reinforcements. Hunters, I'm putting them in C tier because they're cool if you get them, but if you're dealing with a bunch of 3-star Warthogs or any type of air, you're screwed. But I mean, hey, they can check out a tank, but again, you have to upgrade them to Assault Beam to get any real use out of them. I mean, Spirit Bond is still fine as well, but Assault Beam to really get use out of them. Whereas by the time you're at 3 flat tanks with canister, yeah, three flat tanks with 3,000 resources, you could have like, it would be like 8 to 10 minutes in the game. At that point, you might be on Spirit Bond if you know you're getting the Hunters, which you don't know. So C tier. Wolverine, I'll have to say, is a B tier unit because again, it's not like you can train them at will. I'm gonna keep saying that a lot. Drink every time I say at will, because I'm serious. It's like, what can you do? You get them, that's cool, but if you're overrun by a bunch of 3-star Hornets, or if you get them hijacked or something, what can you really do, man? They're solid at what they do, but you're not trying to get them. I tend to get Wolverines on accident when trying to get a tank or something. That's just me. Elephant, I mean, as a meme, but honestly, like, why? Because you can't even train it anyway. I don't think you can train it. Someone tell me. I don't think you train an elephant. You can't. So why? Why would you get this? Like, why would you go for this if you got it? Somehow, like, how could you? Why? Right? Hawks, S tier for reinforcements, because a 3-star Hawk is nothing to scoff at, and hence why Anders would be in the S tier category. So it's like you can have 3-star power turret tanks running around, but a 3-star Hawk is very annoying, and even if there's 2-star Wolverines running around, you can still take them out, and vampires if you can get the drop on them, because vampires, when they stasis you, have to sit still, and a cryo bomb can basically just kill them all, and you're running around scot-free. So if you're able to get 3-star Hornets and your Anders and you go to 3-star Hawks, absolutely amazing. You're nigh unbeatable unless the game keeps giving your enemy anti-air somehow. Which, how would you know? It's all up to chance. That's just me. Gremlins. Nice. They go from S tier in games to being arguably a C. No, not C. No, they have their use. I'll say B tier. I'll say B tier. If you get them, dope. But don't expect to like go up to somebody's base and killing them. They're support, and they have their uses only if you get Anders and only if the enemy gets tanks. They might get a bunch of infantry, and you might be up against a Covenant player where it's giving them air, or a bunch of infantry. You don't know, but their use is still viable. But you're not steamrolling with this in reinforcements. That's all I have to say. Vulture, from questionable to most games, is, in all honesty, I think a top of C tier and potentially usable, because there have been games where I've gotten 3-star vultures, and let's just say they did pretty damn well against everything base wise, because the name of the game is if you destroy all their bases, you basically win, and a vulture can do something. I think a vulture has some use. Suicide grunts. I would dare say D tier. You're not getting them too often, so you're not going to be spending resources upgrading them. You're really not. The only time you'll be spending resources to upgrade them is to bank. So I don't see the use out of it because you can't build them. Engineers, because you can make them like Spartans, I'll put them in A tier because you can heal. I don't know about out healing, but you could definitely heal, and that's very useful because you can build them. And as Covenant, you need that. But again, like, don't make too much of them unless you want to get the thing that I'm talking about, which let's get to it now. I think that the Scarab for the Covenant is very high A tier, very high A to low S. If you can get a Scarab, chances are your chances of winning skyrocket because you'll have engineers and a 3-star leader running around in a perfect scenario. You know what? I think a Scarab, you know what? If you guys, I get it. If you guys have a different opinion and say that it's lower, if you want to say A, I understand you. But I think the Scarab deserves to be S tier in reinforcements because as Covenant, that's what you want to get. And God forbid you get a 3-star, like, God forbid the enemy gets a 3-star Scarab, you know? Because if you play it smart, you can eliminate the 3-star units. And the Scarab is very annoying to play musical bases with. And don't let it be Glacial Ravine or Frozen Valley. Because then the Scarab will go into the above God tier if I were to make one. I'm too lazy right now. I don't want to do it. The Scarab is great. It's what the Covenant generally wants to build in reinforcements and try to get. So as you're gonna see, you want to get Tech 3 and get you want to get 3-star tanks or 3-star Hornets and Covenant. You want to get a Scarab to even a 3-star Scarab if you're lucky. These are the units that you want and most likely will net you a win in the game. So in tandem with the engineers is why the engineers would be A tier to keep that Scarab alive. Vampires, I'll put them in B. I'll tie them with the Wolverine maybe in front because again you cannot build them, so that changes everything. because since everything's up to chance, because everything is up to chance, that changes the dynamic of every unit in this game. If you could make the unit, then everything would change. But reinforcements is very specific. There's no room for other things. Now, again, if you get Warthogs, fine. You can make use out of them. But once somebody gets these tanks, like a bunch of 3-star flat tanks roaming around, there's going to be a Spartan in it. And if it's fully upgraded, you have an immediate 10-star tank on your hands. And that's what you don't want to freaking deal with. Or Hawks, or God forbid, you know. Grizzlies. Why would you make them? I want to put them in why. Why would you make, like, why would you get a 3-star tank? A 3-star, like, I don't know. I don't know. I'll put them in C behind the Vulture. Because, I mean, if you live long enough to get 13 stars on your power turret tank, and you want to just do shit for shits and giggles, for funsies, and you upgrade, now you have a 14-star Grizzly, alright, that's cool. It's resilient. A bunch of 3-star Grizzlies they're very resilient. I'll give you that. So I wouldn't put them in Y, but I don't know. I don't know why would you upgrade to Grizzly in reinforcements. Unless, like, you banked and you forgot to get, you know, like, I would get a Grizzly by pure accident. Or on purpose. Intentional, to mess around. Banshees. Because you cannot, again, because you cannot make them on your own. Behind the ODST. You know, no, just in front of the Gremlin. In front of the Gremlin. If you can somehow get a bunch of 3-star Banshees, that's pretty annoying. And they can get the job done and do what they're supposed to do. And very good. You know what? In an optimal scenario for a Banshee, maybe I'll tie them with the Goshawk. Or behind or tie them with them. Because 3-star Banshees running around is a pain in the ass to deal with. Super Sentinel, nothing to say about that. A Ghost, nothing to say about that. Cobras, maybe a Cobra could definitely. I think a Cobra goes from mediocre and passable in most circumstances to being okay in the reinforcements game mode. Because if you happen to get them, they counter 3-star tanks pretty well. If you ever get them. Of course, if the enemy gets air, you're fucked. But they get their job done. And they have the uses, and are very annoying to deal with. So if you get 3-star tanks and someone gets 3-star Cobras, you're gonna have a tough time. So I think Cobras deserve to go in B tier. Jackals, I'm just going to say why. If you get them, please try to get them killed. Oh right, and also your population affects what you get as well. So the higher your population is, you might not get what you want. I'll have to make sure to put this in the text description on screen. Vulcan. I hate to say this. As powerful as it is in other circumstances and reinforcements, why would you make this? On average, it's not like you're, again, you can't make them at will. You cannot make Cobras at will. And if you do make them, you're shooting yourself in the foot trying to make a Vulcan. I'm very sorry. I love the Vulcan. But if your base blows up under any circumstances, it doesn't matter if that Vulcan is 10,000 stars. You just die. So stationary is not the way of the game in reinforcements. You just cannot afford to sit still, really. Sorry. Flamethrowers. D tier, they got their use, because sometimes when you, in the first minute of you know, banking or trying to get an expo, the game will give you a flamethrower, and that's pretty good against the rebels, and it's also good against an early attack. They have some use. They're okay. They're not completely useless. I'd say more useful than a suicide grub and reinforcements. Brute squads, I'll give them the C. They're passable and they're okay. they can do something. But again, like, okay, the reason why the tanks and hornets are up there is because you don't even need to upgrade them really to make an impact on the game within the first 10 minutes. And upgrading them makes them more cracked. Whereas the units below require, like the units in the lower tiers, require upgrades to be usable. And like obviously by the time you third tech, like what do you need to upgrade? There's no upgrade on a Scarab. So again, like duh, you know. Whereas again, a Grizzly, like yes, it's stronger than a canister shell tank, but not power turret conventionally. It loses to it. And a Hawk, it's worth getting the upgrade because you'll just get 3-star Hawks. Right? So, whereas a Vulture, you know, you have to get it, then get Mega Barrage. And Brute, you have to get it and upgrade to at least Jump Pack and Ultra Shock. Locust, I'd say somewhere to C, potentially B, if you get it 3-star. I'd say C, maybe even D, but I think the Locust is in C tier. At least in front of the Cyclops. It's a better building killer by far, if we're able to get it. And El Vulcan, I mean, cool. I'll put it at the front of Y, no, the back of Y, because the front is more useless. You know, it's cool if you get it, but I don't really see the point in making a Vulcan as powerful as it is. And yes, it can one-shot the 3-star tanks and shit. It definitely can. And get veterancy just as fast. You're going to lose if your base blows up. And I never turtled in reinforcements ever. I don't know what that's like. And I don't think that a Vulcan is something that you want to make. Because you would have to get the Cobras, and then you would have to Pelican them to make the Vulcan. And because of that, no. I'm sorry. So this is my list, my tier list for reinforcements. If you agree, cool. If you disagree, also cool. Tell me why. I think that, so again, this is my understanding. I think that Forge and Anders are the top dogs to pick in reinforcements. And you know, the name of the game in reinforcements is to get 3-star tanks, 3-star Hornets, get a Scarab possibly, or maybe get some Banshees if you're lucky. And everything else is circumstantial. Because as the UNSC, you're always going to make Spartans to either hijack the enemy's highly veteranized units or get in your own. And Covenant, you can make engineers for your Scarab and for your leader and your teammates. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. This is the reinforcement tier list. I would like to venture out to other games, like, you know, the Halo, main Halo titles, like MCC or whatnot, Halo 2, 3, etc. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. This is Anti-Wave, out.